view it commanded was fully displayed, but his eye rested on the mountainous range on the opposite side of the valley, where Malkin Tower was situated. Even in broad day the accursed structure would have been invisible, as it stood on the further side of the hill, overlooking Barrowford and Colne; but Richard knew its position well, and while his gaze was fixed upon the point, he saw a star shoot down from the heavens, and apparently alight near the spot. The circumstance alarmed him, for he could not help thinking it ominous of ill to Alizon. Nothing, however, followed to increase his misgivings, and ere long he came in sight of the beacon. The ground had been gradually rising, and if he had proceeded a few hundred yards further, a vast panorama would have opened on him, comprising a large part of Lancashire on the one hand, and on the other an equally extensive portion of Yorkshire. Forest and fell, black moor and bright stream, old castle and stately hall, would have then been laid before him as in a map. But other thoughts engrossed him, and he went straight on. As far as he could discern, he was alone on the hill top, and the silence and solitude, coupled with the ill report of the place, which at this hour was said to be often visited by foul hags for the performance of their unhallowed rites, awakened superstitious fears in his breast. He was soon by the side of the beacon. The stones were still standing as they had been reared by Paslew, and on looking at them he was astonished to find the hollow within them filled with dry furze, brushwood, and faggots, as if in readiness for another signal. In passing round the circle, his surprise was still further increased by discovering a torch, and not far from it, in one of the interstices of the stones, a dark lantern, in which, on removing the shade, he found a candle burning. It was now clear that the beacon was to be kindled that night, though for what end he could not conjecture, and equally clear that he was brought thither to fire it. He put back the lantern into its place, took up the torch, and held himself in readiness. Half an hour elapsed, and nothing occurred. During this interval it had become dark. A curtain of clouds was drawn over the moon and stars. Suddenly a hurtling noise was heard in the air, and it seemed to the watcher as if a troop of witches were alighting at a distance from him. A loud hubbub of voices ensued. Then there was a trampling of feet, accompanied by discordant strains of music, after which a momentary silence ensued, and a harsh voice asked, "Why are we brought hither?" "It is not for a Sabbath," shouted another voice, "for there is neither fire nor cauldron." "Mother Demdike would not summon us without good reason," cried a third. "We shall learn presently what we have to do." "The more mischief the better," rejoined another voice. "Ay, mischief, mischief," echoed the rest of the crew. "You shall have enough of it to content you," rejoined Mother Demdike. "I have called you hither to be present at a sacrifice." Hidden screams of laughter followed this announcement, and the voice that had spoken first asked, "A sacrifice of whom?" "An unbaptised babe, stolen from its sleeping mother's breast," rejoined another. "Mother Demdike has often played that trick before."
"Peace!" thundered the hag. "It is no babe that I am about to kill, but a full grown maid ay, and one of rarest beauty too. What think ye of Alizon Device?"
"Thy grand daughter!" cried several voices in surprise.
"Alice Nutter's daughter, for such she is," rejoined the hag. "I have held her captive in Malkin Tower, and have subjected her to every trial and temptation I could devise, but I have failed in shaking her courage, or in winning her over to our master. All the horrors of the vault have been tried upon her in vain. Even the last terrible ordeal, which no one has hitherto sustained, proved ineffectual. She went through it unmoved."
"Heaven be praised!" murmured Richard.
"It seems I have no power over her soul," pursued the hag, "but I have over her body, and she shall die here, and by my hand. But mind me, not a drop of blood must fall to the ground."
"Have no fear," cried several voices. "We will catch it in our palms and quaff it."
"Hast thou thy knife, Mother Mould heels?"
asked Mother Demdike. "Ay," replied the other. "It is long and sharp, and will do thy business well. Thy grandson, Jem Device, notched it by killing swine, and my good man ground it only yesterday. Take it."
"I will plunge it to her heart,"
cried Mother Demdike, with an infernal laugh.
"And now I will tell you why we have neither fire nor cauldron. On questioning the ebon image in the vault as to the place where the sacrifice should be made, I received the answer that it must be here and in darkness. No human eye but our own must behold it. We are safe on this score, for no one is likely to come hither at this hour. No fire must be kindled, or the sacrifice will result in destruction to us all. You have heard and understood?"
"We do," replied several husky voices. "And so do I," said Richard, taking hold of the dark lantern.
"And now for the girl,"
cried Mother Demdike. Chapter 15